And
Was that, does that ever go back to your childhood? Like maybe, you know, that's where you got like from your, whether that you looked up to your father as a role model and you were like, you know, he just got shit done. Like he was the one who, like, it didn't matter how he was feeling, because that's how I look at, like, if I look at my father and they grew up in traditional ways,
mhm,
right? So it's like it doesn't matter if his knees are like gone, like broken, or his back's hurting. Like he's gonna get up at 6 a.m.
yeah,
every day and he's gonna go to work, and
yeah,
that's what they do. Like it doesn't matter, right?
yeah.
That's just the mindset they have.
Yeah, I think my grandfather is probably a pretty big influence in my life. And he's, immigrant from Italy,
Yeah.
moved over here in like the 50s. And they I spent a lot of time with them, just with my parents being separated, and being at work. They took care of us quite a bit, and they always made us feel like we had everything, like we were rich, and we
Hmm.
weren't. Like
Yeah.
by no means were we,
Yeah.
but they always made us feel like we could have whatever we want, right? We go to the store, they buy it for us, and I wouldn't really understand, what their circumstances actually were, because I was too little to comprehend it. But my grandfather was a janitor. He was a
Yeah.
janitor at Chrysler for 30 years. And he worked the midnight shift, and he would come home at 6 7 a.m. every morning, but he'd have a chocolate bar in his lunch kit for me. And he just made us feel so special. But I knew, once I grew up and I actually had the perspective to think about what his life was like he grinded.
Yeah.
He grinded just to be able to live in this country. And so I think, part of it's in my DNA, but I think also that definitely rubbed off on me in a sense where, I mean, uh, I'm sure he fought for a lot of the things that we would take for granted today.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't let that slip away. I don't take that for granted, because I know, um, the struggle that he probably went through. And he's not with us today, but part of me wants to, still be able to make him proud.
Hmm. What a mindset shift it is when you find out that your parents aren't perfect.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
growing up, I was like, my mom's the best. Like
yeah,
she got everything
yeah,
figured out. And then when I got older and I realized, like, oh no, like my mom's going through a lot of stuff,
yeah.
and she's figuring it out as like she's going through the same stuff for the first time by herself. And then it just puts you a whole, and then you think back to times when you were younger, like, but like she's like the superhero.
Yeah.
Like, but no, it's the
Mhm,
superhero in front of me.
mhm.
Behind closed doors is a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean, perspective is everything,
So
right?
crazy.
And just how much more empathy it allows you to
Mm.
feel for, what they were going through.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the resentments that I probably still hang on to, I've been able to let go a little bit easier, just knowing
I
that,
understand.
even though when I thought, when I was going through it, that you were doing that to me, that you were going through your own stuff too.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, it's just that's the beauty of life, man.
Yeah.
That's just the beauty of life. It just allows you to really, as you keep going down this journey and this experience, that allows you to just go back and reflect and realize like what it really took to get here, not only for us but for everybody else around us.
But then sometimes I'm like, I feel bad for what I did
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
like, yo, why'd I put you through that?
yeah.
But I didn't know any
You
better.
didn't know.
I didn't know any better.
And
But
that's kind of like the beauty of life, right? And as crazy it sounds like it is to say, it's like there is some sort of like there is some like peace in that violence, or that struggle that you're going through. It's like you may not realize it as you're going through it,
Hmm.
but when you like look back on life, like I'm able to look back on like these 3 months or whatever, right? Like
Hmm.
there is some like lesson, and I don't know if that's like a higher power guiding you, or if it's just like the way that life was written in a book somewhere, right? That hey, Arch is supposed to go through this stuff. And the way I like I heard this really good like quote, and I think it was, again, Alex Ramosi said this, and he was like, imagine your ideal self, right? And if you were to create that ideal self for you, what would you put him through? Like, what would be the task that you, if you know, like, if you wanted him to be the strongest, like the most strong mind-handed, the most successful person, you're not gonna put him through like the easiest life. You're gonna put him through like the toughest situations, but in that is that strength,
Hmm.
right? So I think just finding power in that strength is important. Is that something that you believe as well, or?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, I think for a lot of my life, I always had that victim mentality. Like this
Yeah.
has always been happening to me, and you know, I'm just dealt this shitty hand. You know, this is just the life that I was supposed to live. And once you get past that, once you can realize that it was really just happening for you,
For you,
and it was
yeah.
really just setting you up for what, you know, the future was going to bring you, and allowing you to be able to accept that later on, it's just man, it's just it'll blow your mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, for the longest time, I just thought that, you know, I just, you know, I wasn't cut out for this. You know, it wasn't in the cards for me to be able to live the life that I wanted, and I was just gonna have to, you know, settle for just, you know, mediocrity.
Mhm.
Um, but little did I know, like I had to go through all of that, those hard times, because it just gives you so much more perspective, and being able to be more empathetic towards situations that you're, you know, put through in the future.